So am I the only one who does not really see Asian as black allies, right? I really don't trust them because this minute they're here, the next minute they're there, right? I've seen so many of their videos of them talking nasty things about black people, especially black women in America, and I'm like, this minute you guys are saying we should be allies, right? And the next minute you people are now deviating. What do you guys think? I want you to watch those videos and I'll be back with the commentaries, okay?
I was tagged in multiple videos of the same podcast where this Asian girl is talking to other Asians about black women and their private parts, unprovoked. Like, I believe that wasn't the main topic, but someone, like, she was just like, oh, I want to say this. Y'all are too comfortable talking about always just bringing up black women just to punch down on them, to make yourselves look good. And you never look good. You look tacky as fuck. And whenever I make these videos, people that are typically on faceless accounts say that I'm pandering, right? But these are the same people that if they watch a video where people are talking shit about black women, they're in the comment section being racist as fuck, and they're also eating it up and adding on to stereotypes, because to them, they're like, oh, we can only talk about black people in a negative way. If you say anything that's not negative, then you're pandering to them, all that sort of shit. No, y'all are just anti-black and racist. It is what it is, okay? And this study that this girl claims that she saw is horseshit. I remember the first semester that I had in college when I took a human sexuality class. Not the first semester, but this was early in the semester. And my professor said that the stereotype of different races and ethnicities having a different length, and I'm not going to say exactly what that is because I don't want TikTok to take this video down, but she said that it's bullshit. She's like, there's an average that regardless of your race or ethnicity, people just fall into, and then of course there's little outliers with stuff like that, but she's like, don't think that one race and like, you know, all that sort of stuff, and feeding into negativity. And you know what's crazy is the Asian guys in this podcast are like eating up the stereotypes about, oh, black women, oh yeah, like all that sort of stuff, as if that stereotype that she's insinuating isn't hurtful to them. Like, people would rather be anti-black before they love themselves. It's so fucking sad.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still pissed about those Asian Americans who helped that white man get rid of affirmative action. And it didn't even benefit us in the end. Unsurprisingly. So I need Asian Americans to remember that none of this was ever built for us. The lawsuit that ended affirmative action was not started by Asian Americans. It was led by Edward Bloom, a white conservative activist who has spent years just trying to dismantle civil rights protections because that's the type of person he is. He created Students for Fair Admissions and specifically recruited Asian American plaintiffs to frame this narrative as Harvard discriminates against Asians, but this was never about helping us. It was about using us, as always, about using us to attack policies designed to create equity and level the playing field. Now, you have probably seen a lot of people saying that affirmative action lowers the bar. Oh, DEI also lowers the bar. They're not the same thing, but people think they are. That is so misleading, and it's rooted in anti-blackness. Also, are we noticing the percentage of white people admitted and the overwhelmingly white legacy admissions at these institutions is something that specifically never gets touched in this conversation? Why is that? Is it clicking? So here's some facts from the case. So Asian students did have the highest GPAs and test scores, but got rated lower on personal qualities by the admissions officers. And for identical profiles, Asian applicants had a 25% chance of getting in, while black applicants had a 95% chance. And that stat gets weaponized to imply that black students are less qualified. But affirmative action isn't lowering the standard. It's about addressing systemic inequities caused by racist policies like housing discrimination, segregated schools, and the wealth gap, etc. This is classic model minority propaganda portraying Asian Americans as proof that racism is over to justify attacking other communities. That is exactly why they ended the immigration ban against Asians in the U.S. and then only allowed in high-achieving Asians from Asia, scientists, doctors, etc., to come to the U.S. so that they could use us to prove that they weren't racist to black people during the Cold War. I need you to pay attention to historical context about how this has all gone down. History is rhyming. It's the same thing. Here's the thing. I want to say that 69% of Asian Americans actually support affirmative action, and advocacy groups like Chinese for Affirmative Action and CIRAC fought to keep it. The loudest anti-affirmative action voices do not represent all of the Asian community. They do represent a narrative designed to divide us, though. And for Asian Americans, especially young Asian Americans, I need you to hear me. Even though many in our community do not align with the model minority nonsense, I can attest to that being true, the ones who do are often the ones that get the most visibility because playing that role perpetuates white supremacy. And at the end of the day, we have to be real about all of this. None of this was ever for us anyways. This country literally had laws banning us from being here. We have always been seen as outsiders. We have only ever been used as a tool, a wedge to uphold white supremacy, and then they will scapegoat us the second they need to. That has always happened in times of sickness, war, and a loss of jobs. And it is on us to disrupt that role, to stop aligning with anti-blackness, and to refuse to be used as puppets for systems that were never built for us anyway. It is imperative that we, as Asian Americans, learn our history, learn how we've been used, understand it, and choose solidarity. Because if we're not fighting these systems together, we are always on the chopping block. Remember how they treated us during COVID. Until next time, y'all.
So, unlike this platform, on Threads, you can kind of tell who I am, especially if you click on my profile picture, but it's not super obvious. And earlier today, I made a post, text only, saying, in addition to being a first-class athlete, Taylor Townsend is part of one of the most educated demographics in the United States. That other one is just a sore loser. And a commenter, a white guy, came back with, Taylor Townsend is an Asian. So how about you run those statistics again with master's degrees and doctorate degrees? And you know I'm not going to stand for that. So I came back with, as an Asian American, how about I run statistics for bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and doctorate degrees on your demographic? And his response was deleted so fast. But it's not the first time on Threads that a white commenter has started to argue with me in a way that makes it clear that they assume I'm black. And that's always a reminder to me how comfortable they are in the assumption that the only people who support black people are black people, and at how comfortably they reach for Asian American identity to weaponize against black Americans. And part of me feels like if you're a white person who's going to pull that garbage, then stand 10 toes down on it. Don't be a coward and delete it when you're called out. On the other hand, part of me is glad that commenter knew well enough to be deeply embarrassed that he had to try to use the education levels of Asian Americans to challenge the education levels of black women, because his demographic is too mediocre to even enter the conversation.
Hey, y'all know the term BIPOC, right? Black, Indigenous, People of Color, BIPOC. It's an acronym. Don't know where it came from, if it was started by a person of color or a white person, but we are all lumped together. And to me, as long as we are occupying the space of a single word, why don't we get to know each other? We are representing the global majority. We could create the solidarity in this word that we've been talking about, and we can be a true community here. So Asians who are chasing money and power, like I know you are, stop playing the white game that you're never going to win and join us, because the world is shifting. This is where the real money and power are going. And so switch sides, come over here, and let's do this all together. We need you.
Yes. And for some reason, people are finding an issue with this. They're hearing, which is not being said, they're hearing, hey, she's only good in black circles and not good in white circles. No one said that. She can be her true self. And I relate to this on a personal level too. I went to basically an all-white high school, all-white college. And you bet your ass, on weekends, I was in the brown and black spaces, having our little juke parties. In college, I was in the Latin clubs on the weekends, listening to perreo and reggaeton, because that's where my true self was. I was still getting A's in all my social work classes. I was in these circles too. I was like in the union board. My point is, we can, as brown people, as black people, as POCs, we can do all of it. Can you believe it? And for some reason, that's rubbing people the wrong way.
Oftentimes, because the experiences are invisibilized, so the experience of model minorities tend to be invisibilized, the response is to compare it to one that is hypervisible. The black experience is hypervisible, which, if you understand anti-black racism, is part of how the oppression works. So instead of looking up at systems of power, people of color who are not black tend to look down and use that as a comparison, using the black experience as a footstool to lift theirs up. How does that show up? It means that we're seeing things like, if you've ever talked about BLM, you better be vocal now. No, we don't do that. We don't compare and use the black experience as a footstool for other people's experience. We can definitely sharpen our tools against each other to fight oppression. But we cannot use the black experience, as we've been trained to do, as simply a footstool to hold up your own, right? We lift up each other.
Okay, I take that very seriously. So I actually reached out to a black friend who lives in South Korea. She chooses to live in South Korea. She grew up in California, and she said that what's interesting is that in South Korea, people aren't racist in the way that they are in the United States. They're more curious, and they see her as a foreigner. They don't see her as a black woman. They see her as a foreigner. And she says she prefers it here in South Korea. She said that. And I showed her this comment. She's like, no, you need to tell this person that's not what it is. It's not a weird racism. If anything, she says, her South Koreans may have seen too many music videos and movies, and it's Hollywood's problem, not that Koreans are inherently racist against black people. So get that straight, okay? Maybe you had a bad experience with a Korean, but that's not all Koreans.
What's fact is that black people in the United States don't have the caucasity to define crime for everybody else while excluding themselves. What's fact is that European Americans have committed a vastly disproportionate amount of crime against humanity in the United States. European Americans have unalived and SA'd people of the global majority by the millions. European Americans have destroyed communities created by people of the global majority in the United States by the thousands. And until that truth is acknowledged and reconciled, there will be no excuses.
I'm not really surprised that Chloe girl, the one who got up on here and said if you're a foreigner in Korea and you are not white, you are not considered pretty to Korean people because of Korean toxic beauty standards. I'm not really surprised that girl is a Crazy Orange Man supporter. I peeped that girl's repost. She wasn't smart enough to turn that shit off, so all of us saw it on there. But I'm not really surprised because I hate to break this to y'all, but there are a lot of Korean people who are exactly like Chloe and think the same way, and their proximity to whiteness. And don't come in my comments and say, well, she's got a white boyfriend. We're not going there with the Oxford study thing. I'm not gonna, that's not like a valid argument to me, because I'm not gonna tell you who you can and can't date. Is a little suspicious that she's dating a white dude and she said that shit? Yeah, it is. But her dating a white man, I'm not gonna use that argument, so yeah. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people have a common misconception that people from bigger cities, because she's in New York City, are like open-minded and like, you know, they live in bigger cities, so they're around diverse people all the time. The Koreans, the Asian people that live in bigger cities are usually the most closed-minded. They have a lack of diversity in their friend group. And a lot of them are conservative, very conservative Republicans. Not all. I want to make that very clear. Not all. A lot of them, though. So when I saw that Chloe made that take, and then I saw her repost, and I found out that girl was a Crazy Orange Man supporter, my jaw stood in place. It was still in place, because I said, well, can't say I'm really shocked. Can't say I'm really disappointed. Girl, you better turn off those reposts. You can figure it out. All right? You got to figure out how to turn off those reposts, because those reposts looking a little crazy out there. And for those of you in my comments saying that she's not wrong and she's a native of Korea, yada, 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 so what she says is Bible, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You Korea boos are insufferable. Like, yeah, a lot of you Korea boos, a lot of you white people that love Korean shit are gonna side with her because she pandered to y'all. Yeah, she made you feel like you were on cloud 9 with that shit, saying that if you are not white, we don't think you're pretty. And that's not fucking true at all. And for those of you in my comments, you Chloe defenders, you Korea boos, who are saying, well, you don't fit the Korean beauty standard either, you shouldn't be talking. Okay? She still said something very dumb. Chloe is still very wrong. Her take was ass, and that apology didn't seem very sincere at all. I'm still not surprised. I'm still not shocked by anything that girl does. If you told me that she is an Elon Musk fan, I probably wouldn't be surprised either. Or if she drove a Tesla, I would not be surprised.
Majority of the Asian business community is extremely exploitative and racist towards black people.
Okay, let's address this. My initial reaction to this was one of defensiveness and anger, and I'm sure many of you guys felt the same. But we should not disregard some very valid points that this creator makes. We do have a problem with anti-blackness and colorism within our community. We see that with the discord between ethnic groups within our own community, and that translates out to how some of us treat people with darker skin outside of our community as well. Obviously, it's not all of us because we're not a racial monolith, but I have seen it, and I know you have seen it too. I think we tend to tense up when we hear other people calling out our community for racial prejudice. It's natural to feel defensive because the majority of us are not actively trying to hurt other people. But I think we have to understand that as human beings, we all have some sort of racial prejudice towards others. We're born into a racist society. We have had racist stereotypes hammered into us since birth. But we really need to make a good effort to listen, because if we don't listen, we can't be better for our own community and we can't be better allies. I have more to say in part 2.
I don't like the term people of color. I never have and I never will. There are two reasons why I don't like this term. Because number one, even within the group of people that fit into the people of color, the Indians, the Asians, the Latinos, the Arabs, and whoever else, in each and every one of these communities, there is insidious anti-blackness in each and every one of those communities. There's anti-blackness, insidious anti-blackness in the Arab community, insidious anti-blackness in the Indian community, insidious anti-blackness in the Latino community, insidious anti-blackness in globally. Anti-blackness is global, even within those communities. And the average Arab man thinks is better than the black African or the black person. The average Asian thinks they're better than the black person. The Latino believes that they're better than the black person. It's clear. So I don't want to be grouped into a group that automatically thinks that they are better than me and they treat us badly in their communities. I mean, if you think I'm lying, just Google anti-blackness in the Latino community, anti-blackness in the Asian community, anti-blackness in the Indian community, and anywhere else, I can guarantee you there's anti-blackness in there. So don't call us like people of color. And one thing I want to advise any black person out there is you have to be very careful of being a foot soldier. And this is something I've seen a lot of black people do, is like automatically playing the advocator for other communities that would never, ever advocate for you. And I think I've seen a decline in black people globally being a mouthpiece for battles and fights that don't involve them, and fights that other communities will never fight for you. You know, I'm so happy I've seen a decline in advocacy for Palestine from black folks, at least on my FYP anyway. So that's good. Mind your business. Focus on your own concerns. Because how many Arab people are advocating and protesting and marching for Congo? How many Asian people are advocating and marching for Congo? I'm not saying it's not happening. It's a dot. How many Arab people are advocating for Congo? At the scale in which black people advocate for others. It's even if it exists, it's a very, very small minority, a small group. Add that to the anti-blackness that is insidious in each one of those communities. I don't consider myself a person of color. Bullshit, because there's no unity in there. Because even those groups, they love to see us at the bottom because it makes them the model. It makes them the, I'm better. You know what I mean? So I don't believe in it, and I never will. And if you still believe in it, I hope this video wakes you the fuck up. And number two, the reason I don't believe in this people of color term is because isn't white a color? Why isn't white and people of color? White is also a color. So why isn't white there? You understand? And if you don't look, this is white. If you don't look like this, then you're not white. This is color white. I mean, you cannot be looking not like this and say you're white. You're not white. You are, I don't know, pink, really light yellow, but this is not white. You know? So that's why. And I don't know why I'm making this video. I'm guessing just to share my thoughts on being person of color. It's a fraud. It's a lie. Don't believe in it.
Awkwafina fucking broke down doors. Let's be real about her impact.
Awkwafina did break barriers, but she did it by appropriating black culture, and I don't think it's fair to ask the people who are harmed and offended by that to give her a free pass because we don't have a lot of representation. And if we support her and her appropriation of black culture, then it's not surprising that we're going to get called out on our racism. And we are being called out on our racism, not the racism of our older generation, because we are able to know better than to support problematic behavior, and it is our responsibility to help our older generation, particularly those with language barrier issues, to become aware of social justice concerns and to unlearn anti-blackness. I get what you're saying about children of immigrant parents for whom English is a second language are often mimics. You've mentioned it's true for you, it's true for me to a certain degree, but if you look at her videos where she's doing rap and hip-hop, she's not collaborating with other black artists. Most of the people who show up in her video are white or Asian, so in that case, she doesn't have a black scent because she's immersed in the culture. Also, where she grew up is over 50% white, nearly a quarter Asian, and less than 3% black. So this idea that she may have a black scent because she was around black people a lot is just not factual. It's a stereotype about life in New York City. But she talks about the Asian kids who were in her neighborhood when she was growing up. Same thing with the high school that she went to. It's over 40% white, over 20% Asian, and less than 10% black. Also, she talks about her undying love of hip-hop, but in interviews when asked about her inspiration, she names white authors and white musicians. I don't see her acknowledging black musicians that she appreciates who informed her work. And finally, because Asian Americans have so little representation, for me personally, I don't want to be represented by somebody who makes their name and profit off of appropriating black culture. That's not how I want other people seeing Asian American culture, and that's not what I want inspiring the next generation of Asian American artists. I loved her portrayal of Billy in The Farewell. I felt like that was me when I first moved to New York City, and actually something very similar happened to me. So I saw myself represented in that, and it tells a story of our culture. So I would love if she pursued more of that. And this doesn't have to cancel her career or mean that she's going to be labeled a monster forever. She can acknowledge that it's a choice and take accountability for it being a bad choice, and we can move on. But if Asian Americans are going to continue to make excuses and justifications for her, then we're going to be called out on letting her poor choice expose our anti-blackness. And it's our racial prejudice, not our older generation's racial prejudice. Ours. Because it is our choice to let people know, is this how we want to be represented or not?
So a couple of weeks ago, millions of people joined arms in outrage to go to bat for the Chinese people when the coronavirus was being called the Chinese virus to protect them from prospective discrimination. I mean, millions of people were outraged. Fast forward to today, African Americans in China are being kicked out of their homes, evicted, left on the side of the street, and denied entry into hotels or shelters under the false pretense that they may have the coronavirus, although providing the proof that they do not. And many are wondering, well, where is the same outrage for the Africans? Who's going to come and save us? Did we forget that Chinese people have always been racist to African Americans and they have never hid that? The hate for black people is so embedded in other minorities that an unpopular truth is that most of them are more racist towards black people than white people themselves. Black people are the most forgiving race, the most supporting race. We will literally go to bat for every other minority because we know what it is like. It's time to save our fucking selves.
I don't mind to educate you a little bit further since there's a lot of delulu going on in my comments section when it pertains to Indians. Okay, so if you're new here, my great-grandmother's Kasinga, she had a child with an Asian, thus birthing a whole generation of Asian people, black Asians, basically, because of her melanin. All right, and the man she married, he wasn't really all that fair-skinned. Anyway, being introduced to Indian culture, and when we try to make these videos and let people know to recognize shade, Black America needs to recognize shade when it comes from an Indian. And when I say Indian, I'm referring to India, not Native American, because some of y'all be confused about that. Anywho, dating, take me for instance, okay? Now, whether you're Kasinga or whatever else you are in India, we get a lot of flack for dating Black Americans. Now, my great-grandmother's people, they're African descendants, so they prefer that I date an African or anybody else in the Black diaspora except a Black American. Indians alike will agree. They don't want any of their great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren dating anybody Black American. You can date anything else, Jamaican, whatever else, just make sure it's not Black American. And we try to tell, they don't want us being friends with y'all, they don't want us interacting with y'all, and we try to tell y'all that, and you get in the comments being delusional, thinking that Indians are your friend. Honey, you don't hear the names that y'all are called. Ask any woman on this app who is estranged from her Indian family because she chose to date a Black American man. They don't agree with the way we dress, they don't agree with the way we date, they don't agree with any of that. And we come on here, they don't even agree with us having Black American friends. We get on here and try to tell y'all that, and you try to tell us it's something else. Keep thinking that. Like I told y'all, it's 2 young women on this app that tagged me and said that those families, they had children by men whose families tried to take their life for having a child or getting pregnant by one of their sons. If you think that don't happen for real, it does. Get lost in a part of India and you can't speak any language to get your way out that situation. You'll be reminded real quick, they not your friends. Over here, they're your friends, not there. Now you know. Now you know better, you'll do better.
This may be the most important thing that I ever say. Asian Americans did not crack the code. It is that Asian Americans are white supremacy's favorite cipher where it comes to writing the fiction that white supremacy doesn't exist. Asian Americans do have the highest median household income by race in the United States, and we also have the highest wealth gap, with the highest income Asian Americans earning approximately 11 times as much as the lowest income Asian Americans. Also, Asian Americans are not the highest earners in the United States. Those individuals are white people. The logic being exercised here would be as if I took Jeff Bezos' household income and the household income of an unhoused person and used it to prove that the unhoused person has no problems because their median household income is billionaire. But the short answer to this is the Asian ethnicities that earn the most in the United States correspond to the Asian ethnicities that receive the vast majority of H-1B visas. In case your next question was, if the United States engages in so much white supremacy, why does it provide so much opportunity to immigrants in the form of H-1B visas? And it's because employers can pay employees who receive H-1B visas less than they would have to pay their non-immigrant counterparts. So it allows employers to gain access to highly skilled employees. And for the most part, immigrants who receive H-1B visas are able to earn more in the United States than they may be able to earn in their countries of origin, even if they're being paid less than their non-immigrant counterparts. Another reason why the United States does this is exactly to get people like you to ask this question. If Asian Americans seem to be doing well in the United States, that would indicate that white supremacy doesn't exist. The negative implication is if Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other people of color are not able to do as well as Asian Americans, the problem must not be white supremacy, the problem must be cultural to those demographics. However, if you look at Asian Americans who came to the United States not through high selectivity policies like H-1B visas and student visas, it becomes apparent that they do struggle with lack of equitable access to resources, and for them that has harmful outcomes very similar to the outcomes experienced by Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other people of color.
I wish that Black and Asian people could just admit that we fucking love each other's cultures. We're obsessed with each other. We're obsessed with one another's brilliance, resilience, perseverance, strength, intelligence, ability to make everything so complex and so simple at the same time simultaneously. And that we love one another's foods, one another's cultures, one another's appearance, personalities, spirits in this way so deeply that the only time that we really start to hurt each other or try to hurt each other is when we are stressed under the forces of white supremacy, imperialism, or colonization, you know, and we start to hurt each other because we feel that we hate ourselves and we have to kill ourselves, when truly deep down we are constantly being inspired and internalizing just the brilliance of one another. And I just want you to know that I see you and I love you and I appreciate you for being here, because we will remember this eventually. It's only a matter of time.
So an article came out that said that since affirmative action has been overturned, in the case of Yale, Ivy League school Yale, the attendance rates for incoming Asian Americans has decreased, while the attendance rate for incoming Black students has remained the same as it was during affirmative action. This is crazy because Asian Americans were the ones who were bringing about lawsuits to get affirmative action overturned. If you were on Twitter in 2022, 2023, this was a lot of discord. A lot of Asian Americans had filed lawsuits saying that against schools, saying that they did not get in because of their race, because their spot was given to a Black student because of affirmative action, not even realizing that you too, as a minority, benefit from affirmative action. But in their head, they're European American, okay? They think that they're not a minority. But now we see with the first, I'm sure more stats are going to come out, but in the case of Yale, at the very least, it shows that while y'all were discrediting Black students for getting into schools, from their hard work, not because of affirmative action, y'all were really the ones who were needing affirmative action. Okay, y'all probably took some spots from Black kids because these schools were trying to meet quotas to, give y'all in. But we know in the case of Yale, Black students earned their spot. And I love this for them. I love this for them because y'all wanted affirmative action to be, overturned so bad. And now look at the numbers. It's just so funny to me, like how these people come into Black communities and want our Black dollars and want to profit off of us, but this is really how they feel about us. Y'all can look up all the lawsuits. That, Asian Americans were bringing against colleges, discrediting hardworking Black students who worked hard for their spot, who worked hard for their degrees. Now look.
So I'm noticing a lot of racist comments on my comment section, a lot of which are from people who identify as Black. So I just want to shed light on this race war between the Asian American community and the Black American community. Yes, there is racism on both sides. But what do we have in common, other than being both discriminated minorities? We are both American, and America was founded on multiculturalism and diversity. That's why multiculturalism works so well in America, and really only in America. Whereas in other countries like Europe and Asia, multiculturalism doesn't work so well, because those places weren't founded on the value of multiculturalism. They were ethnostates. America is not an ethnostate. And a lot of white leftists think it's the white majority oppressors versus the minority oppressed. But clearly there's a race war within the minority oppressed. And it's tearing apart the very foundation of what America was built on. We are one human race after all.
So here's what I have to say after, the video suggests, shout out to the creators, right? But here's it. As Black, I would not fully support Asians. Why? Because sometimes I feel some of them are very, very discriminative. Some of them are in fact, a whole lot of them are racist, right? Some of them will come to pretend and say, oh, we are with the Black people. But the thing is, when their family members present a Black woman or a Black man for marriage, they get angry. They begin to say, no, we're not going to accept this. Oh, we are not in support of this. Stuff like that. Even down to school, some of them don't want their children to be friends with Blacks in schools. I've seen that happen a lot. And then they come out and they be like, oh, we are this. I believe if they're trying to push this narrative of, oh, we are in support of Black people, it should start at home, right? Because I believe charity begins at home, right? And if you notice these people, Asians, they also have Black people among them. They don't treat them well. There's still racism embedded in their own cultures as well, in their own country. So why would they now come and say, oh, we love Black Americans, when there's even racists among the Black Asians and the white Asians, the Black Indians and the white Indians, the Black Chinese and the white Chinese? So a lot of these things keep getting me really, really confused as to why would they be saying this and be doing another thing, right? Because now if you look at what's happening in America, they are being paid even higher than Blacks. They are paid higher than Blacks because the white people in America are making it feel like, oh, that those people are people of color. And so they don't want this whole white supremacists, whatever, or whites, whatever, to really, really be out there like that. But the truth is, the Asians as well, they identify as whites, right? And they also identify as people of color. So what are you trying to say? For me, if you ask me, I'll be like, oh, these people are confused. Or they are trying to be here or there, right? Just for selfish gains. If you want to know that what I'm saying is true, go to their country. For instance, go to Korea, South Korea, North Korea for holidays, and you're going to see what I'm telling you. These people don't like Blacks. They do not like Black people. So I don't know if they're talking about peace and all of that in in America, fine, right? But the thing is, as Black Americans, what I'm going to tell you is, do not take them very seriously. These people are cunning. They are just in America for what you are supposed to have, right? Don't see it as, oh, they like us, Some people are even beginning to see them even better than even Africans, which is not even supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. These people cannot be proud of you outside your country. They know that you guys built America. They know that you guys are the ones, right, that are like in the lead in America. One other thing is, these people fail to even understand that Black people fought for them to be in that country and respected. But still, you can still see them in place of work snitching at people and all of snitching on people and all of that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is what I have to say. I don't know what your take is on this. Do you think that they are really good allies? Have you worked with them? What are your experiences? I want you to share it in the comment section, right? Do not forget, it's always Global Gist, with BJ. I'm your friend Blessing, right? And as you know, everything about the Black American is what I will always support. And if there's anything we Black Americans are also doing that is not so good, I'm also going to come here and we'll talk about it and come to an agreement on how we can actually, become better people. So with that being said, if you've not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, like and share this, video, right? And I want to know that it's a safe space for Black people in the world. And anyway, until then, I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.